Hi, my name is Alexandra with the Bucket List Mermaid, and today we are going to be talking about one of the most densely packed bucket list cities in the world, which is London. But instead of just spewing you with a bunch of activities to do, I'm going to go through all of the major attractions in London and tell you if it is worth it. Now, on my website, I have two blog posts, one that entails every single bucket list thing you can do in London, and the other one that talks about what it is, who it's for, and the tips and tricks that I've accumulated from living there and then also living in Cambridge for a few years. Let's get started on all the best things to do in London, who they are for, and if they are worth adding to your bucket list. First up on our list is one of the most iconic things that you will often see within the London skyline, which is Big Ben and the Palaces of Westminster that houses Parliament. Now, I'm gonna be honest, it's pretty spectacular, but it is crowded. So if you do go, especially on the street, prepare to be literally packed in like sardines, especially when you're crossing the bridge. I would, however, say that this is such an iconic landmark that it's kind of a crime to go to London and not go here, so I would just brave the tourists, no matter who you are, just to catch a glimpse. Plus, it's very centrally located. Westminster Abbey's there, the London Eye, the London Dungeon, so there's a lot of things that you can do around there, which is why I would recommend it. Next up on our list is very close to Big Ben, which is the London Eye. I'm gonna be honest, I have done this once and never again. I thought it was a little expensive, it was only around 30 minutes, and it did give you a unique perspective of the city, but I felt like you could have gotten that perspective other places as well. So, unless you have little kids and just kind of want to take a load off for a half hour, I wouldn't recommend it, unless you just love Ferris wheels. I have also noticed that in major cities, they do have their own version of a Ferris wheel, so it isn't quite unique to London, but it is a staple of the skyline, so give it a go if it does interest you. Next, right by the London Eye is the London Dungeon. Now, this is a pretty cool theatrical 360-degree immersive retelling of 1,000 years of London history. I would definitely go if you have a flair for the dramatic. It's a little bit like a haunted house, and it is the only place that I've ever seen that will terrorize your children if they cry. So if you don't like your kid, take them there. All jokes aside, it is a really fun way to learn about London's history. It probably isn't for everyone just because it is a little morbid and gross. They talk about all of the darker sides of London history, so if you're just like, I just want to go to a museum, or that really isn't your crowd to be scared, then I would probably do something else. But if you're like me, who loves to be scared, who loves haunted houses, and who loves theater, this is perfect for you. Next is Hyde Park. Now, this is the biggest park in London, and it has so much historical significance. I mean, the suffragettes gave speeches there, there was Nelson Mandela was there, the Rolling Stones gave a concert there. So if you just love historical parks, then this would definitely be one for you. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I do prefer Regent Park versus Hyde Park, but I do have a lot of London friends who still rank Hyde Park as the best park in London. And fun fact, when I was 18, I did my first mermaid photo shoot there, so I have to kind of like it. Next is Westminster Abbey. Now, I'm a nerd, and I took AP European history, and I've read all about these people, and when I tell you that there is so much history and people buried here, I was a little teary. No shame. I do think that it is one of the coolest things that you can do in London. It's beautiful, has tons of history, and there's been like 39 coronations there. So if that interests you, I would definitely not give it a miss. I would get there early to avoid crowds and go on a weekday, but oh my gosh, it is spectacular. If you don't like history or looking at old churches, it is probably not for you. I can't imagine little kids would have a lot of fun on it, so maybe just think about who your audience is. Next is Buckingham Palace. Now, I would recommend going to Buckingham Palace if the changing of the guard and that stereotypical London, the bobbies, has any interest to you. You can go inside during the summer months. When I went inside, I was seriously packed in so tightly, I felt like I was my neighbor at one point, and you can't take photos. But other than that, it is a really cool experience and makes you kind of feel like you're royalty. And my favorite park in London, which has to do with the Queen Mary Gardens, is the Regent Park. I don't know what it is. I just spent hours going there looking at the waterfalls, exploring, taking pictures of flowers like you can see here, and I don't know, I just love it. It's such a nice break from the city, and I would definitely recommend going. Unless you're really married to Hyde Park, then you probably only need to choose one. And next, the British Museum. One of the craziest museums I have ever seen. Just don't ask where they got all their stuff. I do think that this museum can be a little overwhelming if you're trying to do it in a day, so I would definitely figure out which exhibits you want to go see or dedicate multiple days to this museum. This museum is insane. So if you're a lover of museums, don't miss it. Speaking of museums, the V&A. Now this isn't my favorite museum. My favorite museum is the British Museum, so I would definitely go to that one first. But if you are more into like fashion and design and art, it is pretty cool. Plus their jewelry room is out of this world. However, it still isn't my favorite, so if I had a very set time in London, I think I would probably miss it unless I was really into that sort of scene. And then moving right along, the Natural History Museum. Now I have to admit that the Grand Foyer and the T-Rex and the blue whale skeleton and the outside is very cool. Other than that, it's pretty much a typical natural history museum with just like a little bit more oomph. Therefore, if you were tight on time, I would probably choose other options if I were you, unless you like love museum and are just going to London for museums. However, if you do end up there, go see the mineral section. I don't know what it was about the rock section. It was just really good. Who knew? And the dinosaurs, obviously. And the West End. Now I have seen a lot of higher end scaled theater shows. As I said, I am a theater nerd. And I must say that it actually really does compare to the Broadway style. It is like the Broadway equivalent of London, so I would definitely check it out. Now the tickets aren't as cheap as they once were, but they're definitely not going to get you up into those higher range Broadway prices. If you do want theater discounts, I would definitely go to Leicester Square. It's right down the street from Piccadilly, and you can get some pretty good deals on some discounts. Next is St. Pauls Cathedral, which I have seen a lot of cathedrals in my travels around Europe, and this one is really good. I am not going to sugarcoat it, people. I did actually go to an Easter service there, and it was fantastic. You aren't allowed to take pictures, but you take pictures of the outside, and you do have to get a ticket to get in. But what makes this worth your bucket list is the Whispering Gallery. It's actually 30 meters away, and you can hear a whisper. It's a crazy acoustic phenomenon that I personally have never seen anywhere else, so that might make it worth your bucket list. If you aren't into Gothic architecture or churches, there are other options for you. It's pretty much all that, but personally it was amazing and definitely worth it. Next, a river cruise along the Thames. Yes, do it. It's cheap, it's short, it's a great way to see the city. Some of them include a pub on board, or there's one that has afternoon tea on it, and it's just a really cool way to see the city and go down the Thames. And there's so much that has happened on the Thames. You should learn about everything that's gone on in there, or maybe don't. But overall, I would suggest this for pretty much everybody because it can be enjoyed by everybody. Who doesn't love a good boat cruise with an English ale, responsibly? Speaking of that, going to pubs. And although you're thinking, oh, it's just a bar, as someone who has lived there, it's not a bar. It's a social gathering, and it is an integral part of English culture. So I would definitely encourage everybody to at least check one out. And if you're not a huge fan of drinking, then that's okay. They mostly serve some traditional dishes. I would definitely recommend checking out some fish and chips, bangers and mash, a Sunday roast if you're there on time. So good. Get it with horseradish. It's Anyway, there are so many historical pubs in London. There's so many tours that you can take of pub crawls, historical pub walks, and it is just really nice to see it in London because the pub scene is crazy in London. Like, I was in Cambridge and the pub scene was cool, but London, there's like people, like crowds standing outside. It's insane. And next is Soho. Now this is one of my favorite parts in London. I actually prefer it to Oxford Street as far as shopping goes because it is just fun. There's a two-faced store. Carnaby Street is amazing. It is a foodie heaven. I literally got a steak there on a cutting plate with a meat cleaver for 13 pounds. It is so lively, especially during the peak times. You won't regret it. I think it's so fun, especially if you want to go shopping. That being said, Oxford Circus, if you do want more of a high-end, very famous London shopping scene, I would definitely go here. As I said, me personally, I prefer Carnaby Street and Soho, but it really is up to you. I would not go during Christmas time because although the decorations are pretty, it's a madhouse. But again, probably only for people who are A, exploring London or want to shop while in London. If you are looking to see those high-end shops, I would actually suggest going into Harrods. I would always play a game of trying to find the most expensive thing in Harrods, and their tea is really good. And next is Piccadilly Circus. Now this I kind of think of like London's Times Square, and although you might be tempted to go in the day, I would definitely more recommend going at night, and chances are if you are exploring London, you probably will end up here anyway because it seems like I am always finding my way back to Piccadilly Circus. So don't worry, I probably wouldn't make a special trip because you're probably gonna get there anyway, and it's a pretty cool sight to see. Next is the Tower of London. Now I would suggest going to the Tower of London if A, you really like historical tours, or B, you really like jewels. Because you will learn so much of Tower of London, but if you just don't want to learn about history on your vacation to London, it's probably not going to be the best place for you. But also, the crown jewels make up for it a little bit because, oh my gosh, those things are cool. Now, it's very crowded and they have moving walkways, so you can't stand there. You gotta just like look at the crowns as they go by. I love it. If you're really into it, you can actually take a tour from the Beefeaters to learn about the thousands of years of history, all in the Tower of London. So much history. So much happened there. It's crazy. And next is the Tower Bridge, not to be confused with the London Bridge, because I definitely got confused and went to the wrong one. But this is the one that has the Gothic architecture and is 2 layers. Now this I would definitely suggest for someone who wants to get a picture or likes that unique Gothic architecture. I've personally never seen such an intricate Gothic design on a bridge, so that's really cool, but it's really for people who want that or want that pretty nice social media picture on St. Catherine's Docks. If not, maybe skip it. Trafalgar Square, I love it. I am not gonna lie, I do love it. And it's like relatively close to everything else, so I would give it a go. You got your National Gallery, you got all the lions, although be careful when climbing up on the lions. It's always busy and vibrant and bustling, and the food is amazing. So I would definitely suggest it to those who are exploring London and have nothing else to do, or you just like big metal lions. Next is the Harry Potter studio tour. Now there are several tours that you can take within London itself that will take you around to different filming locations, but I am talking about the studio tour that is really far away and inconvenient. Now it is really far away and inconvenient, but if you are a Harry Potter fan, you literally cannot miss it. I grew up with Harry Potter. It's like my childhood. It was nostalgia, and I'm not gonna lie, when they opened the doors to the Great Hall, I cried a little bit. Don't judge me. But yes, anybody who loves Harry Potter, please just go. And enjoy a butterbeer for me, because it's my favorite drink in the entire world. Entire universe. Butterbeer is it. I will say that London is one of the few destinations where there is literally so much to do that you will be overwhelmed, and I guarantee you that no matter what you choose to do, you will have a good time, because London is crazy. And you'll have so much fun. And there you go, the ultra quick guide to all of the major attractions in London and if they're worth it and who they are good for. As I said, I do have a blog post explaining way more detail, going into way more tips and tricks on my website. So if you are going to London and really want to prioritize what you do, definitely don't forget to follow there. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe so that I can keep bringing you free mermaid bucket list content.